Hey everybody, good morning. Today, Nathan Duce here with Homestar Financial. I'm out here with John Baker.
And I'm with Metro Brokers, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Yes. We're out here on John's farm and just checking out this awesome property he's got out here in West Georgia. Today, we wanted to talk about if you found your home and you want to make sure you get that house under contract, what can you do to make sure that your offer is the one that stands out above everybody else, especially when you get into a multi-bid situation. Right. Now, when I was thinking about who to have come do this video with me, John Baker, you've been doing real estate here for like 30, 40 years?
37, my 38th year now, yes.
Yeah, so if I had to, and I know like if you're friends with John on Facebook, you see he's just got all kinds of awards and for production with his team. They do a really good job. But what that also translates to is John has seen a number of deals, like just ballpark me here. How many deals do you think your team closed in the last 2 years?
Last 2 years, we're around about 170 transactions.
About 170 transactions. And with an average, how many offers on each property?
Going back the past 2 years, there were some properties we had 25, 30, 35 offers on them, but on average, we probably have had an average about 4 offers per property. Matter of fact, the last 3.5 weeks of the 6 listings I put on the market in that time frame, Nate, we've had multiple offers on 5 of them.
Okay.
This is 2023 we're talking about.
So. Right. So, a lot of people out here buying houses right now. So, I mean, we're talking over 600 offers have come by. So, John's seen a lot of offers come through and he's helped a lot of sellers get their homes sold. So what we want to do today is talk about what are those things that are getting those offers accepted where the others are getting turned down. All right. And so, like, I know one of the things that we see when buyers are making offers has to do with the terms, right?
Correct. It's all about how you present yourself in the offer. One thing I tell my buyers when I'm working, you want to sell yourself, Nate, to the seller. And as a seller, when I had these multiple offers last few weeks, had some agents reach out to me and say, hey, what can we do to try to enhance our offer? And I said, I give them some suggestions. I can put this typically in my listing paperwork. I said, a minimum of 1% earnest money. I say, please include an approval letter or cash proof of funds. Other things, though, I've actually brought out include, and sometimes there's things such as appraisal gap coverage or even escalation clause that can help out.
Yeah.
If you've seen those, I know of many of the loans that you
yeah, we see those all the time.
Yeah, and appraisal gap coverage, for instance, it's not for everybody. If you're a first-time home buyer, it may be difficult to do that.
Right, especially if like you're limited on funds and you only have enough just to cover your down payment. There may not be a lot of extra, cash in the bank, so to speak, to go pretty hard and go above what that house might appraise for, right?
And with appraisal gap coverage basically means if the home is not appraised for the purchase price, you'll make up the difference up to a certain amount. I've seen them as low as $2,000, $1,000. I've had them as much as $35,000, $50,000 at one time. I've had people just waive the appraisal contingency because that was just, they wanted that property. And then the escalation clause, which we don't see as much of that as we did back in 2021, earlier 2022.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite in that market rate.
No, not in that market. That means that we will beat any other offer up to a certain amount, by increasing the offer by over $1,000, $2,000, whatever dollars. But it can be effective, even if you're just going 1%, 2%, 3% over the asking price of what you've offered. You say, hey, I'll increase my offer up to $5,000 more if you're willing to do so, because you don't always get a chance, Nate, to put your best offer in. Used to be years ago, there's always highest and best offer. Foreclosures, that you probably get a lot of these properties. Like I told 3 different agents on the last 2 that I did, 2 on one another one. I said, what about highest and best? We probably won't need to do highest and best because we'll probably have highest and best presented to us by another agent. And we did. We had when I closed a week ago, just that. It sold for about 5% over asking price, and we had contracts at 273, 270, 270, 265, 265, and the house was listed at 259.9.
Oh wow, yeah. So well over list price on that. Now, do you see that when you're getting those offers coming in, do the financing types have much to do with it? Like, in the past we saw, hey, if you're not bringing cash, it's got to be conventional. We don't want to see a VA offer. We don't want to see an FHA offer, anything that's these types of government loans. If you got down payment assistance, forget it. Like, does that play into whether a seller accepts an offer or not as much today?
It shouldn't, but it still does. Give you an example. I've had a couple of my sellers recently this year, even this year as well, in the years past, say, I don't want to do any VA loans. The VA appraiser is tough. I've closed my career over 300 VA loans.
Right.
I've closed over, I think I figured out the other day, over between 700 and 800 FHA loans in my career. So when I tell my sellers, they don't scare me much. Because
right.
If the property, as long as I feel the property meets the criteria.
Right.
But yes, if you can position yourself as a conventional loan, it does better. If you can put a little more money down, if you can put 20% down, it gives sellers a feeling of comfort, of being comfortable in the process.
Right. So, I think what we're saying here, and what John's, if I hear you correctly, is number one, you want to make sure you're presenting a strong offer. Right? You want to make sure that you're not going skimpy on your earnest money. Sellers want to see that you've got skin in the game. And sometimes that means coming up with 1% of the sales price, sometimes up to $4,000 or $5,000. If you're, maybe you go 2 or 3%, right? To ante up, what your deal is. I recently had a customer that they made $10,000 in earnest money because they wanted to communicate to the seller that they were serious about buying that house. They want to put in a strong offer, right?
Yep.
And along with that, removing like the due diligence and some of these different things. So when you're buying a home, it really kind of comes down to how hard do you want to chase that house, right? And there's some strategies to that. And whether you're a seasoned purchaser or whether you're a first-time home buyer, you really want to make sure that you've got, an agent, a buyer's agent, who's going to help you understand how hard should you go. And because there's a fine line between maybe paying too much for what that property is.
Yeah,
you don't want to do too hard and then find out that afterwards you got a little buyer's remorse because maybe you paid too much for the house. Maybe there's stuff that you skipped in the due diligence that should have been picked up and now you got to deal with. Maybe you got bad outlets that got to get replaced in the house and, miscellaneous things like that. I actually had a closing a couple years ago. The day the sellers closed on the home, that night they moved into their home and the microwave wasn't wired correctly. The microwave caught on fire. They had a kitchen fire the first day they bought the house. I mean, the most insane thing. But that's because they did skip a good home inspection.
Yeah, and you don't skip on that.
Right. So, there's a fine balance, but really, you want to try to escalate how much you're doing in your earnest money. If you can shorten your closing window, instead of doing a 30 or 45 day closing window, if you're getting financing, maybe go with like a 21 day or a 30 day. Make sure you've got a strong pre-approval letter from your lender, right? Those are all certainly good things to do. And what else would you recommend?
With earnest money, one thing about that, technically you don't have to have earnest money to buy a property. That's just saying that you're earnest and sincere on buying. That's showing that strength to the buyer, like Nathan was talking about a while ago. But Nate, with one, I had on this multiple offers on the one property, I had 12 offers on it. The one at 259.9 a couple weeks ago. And we had $1,000 earnest money offer in there.
Right.
The seller said, I wouldn't consider that. And I don't want to, the agents, when I've told these agents before who are reaching out to me, said, look, do the best to sell yourself to my seller, but at the same time to represent the interest of your buyer. One thing that's not used a lot here in Georgia that I have used some here recently, and I've used it for buyers. Also, I've had some closing I had yesterday, is what's called option money. Option money is similar to earnest money, but it's separate from earnest money. Earnest money can be refunded different things all along the way. But option money is two forms of it. Is one that you say, I will give you, I've had them go as low as $500 option money to the seller. Give me the option of me having the contract on your home. And I've had them up to $5,000 and $10,000 option money. I've got two of my properties, like I said, right now actually under contract that we received option money on behalf of my sellers with one of them we closed yesterday actually, so down to one. But anyways, the other way is that the option money, they'll pay the option money, let's say it's $2,000 on top of the $3,000 or $4,000 earnest money.
Okay.
$2,000 option money payable to the seller up front, and that's applied to the purchase price. It can still be applied to the purchase price,
right?
Even though it's paid to the seller up front. And so in that case, with $3,000 earnest money, $2,000 option money, the buyer has $5,000 on the table at that time.
Wow.
So in that, if the seller's looking at multiple offers on a property that's priced right in good condition, option money may help you win that bid. you don't want to throw the whole farm away. And if you do a couple properties, and you give them
Sure.
$2,000 of option money, and you don't get the properties, you may want to evaluate your negotiating strategy a little bit.
Oh, right, right. Well, I think that kind of comes back to how hard are you wanting to chase it, right? So
Yeah.
if you found the house that is the one, right, option money could be a fantastic way to escalate your, well, basically make your offer look way better than the rest of them, because that money is just, that's money that's going to the seller for taking the contract, whether you close or not, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. But again, if you're making the offer, have your agent or whoever you're working with do a analysis of the values for the home
Right.
in that area. See if it's a fairly priced home or how your position is. Sometimes, every now and then, even now, we get some properties are priced lower than what they should be. Nate was telling me about a property he looked at himself that was priced a little lower, but upon evaluation, it's priced right, very right.
Right.
And so sometimes you want to take advantage of an opportunity. It may be presenting a strong offer, selling yourself with a little more earnest money, shortening up the inspection appraisal period time frames, and your financing contingency. Make sure you have that strong in hand. Someone like Nathan,
Right.
Nathan Duce, Homestar Mortgage, take good care of you. But that way you can go in strong and hopefully finish strong.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, John, it's been awesome getting some tips from you today.
Sure.
And thanks for bringing us out to your farm. You know,
Certainly.
Hear the birds out here chirping and whatnot. Guys, if you have any other ideas as far as, questions, what should I do when I'm making you an offer? Does it make a difference with lists or that, or, time frames? Put them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Agents, if you've got other ideas you want to contribute to this, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
Thank you.